Okay, this is the third segment of Wackiest White House Pets. I hope you were able to watch 1 and 2, and if not, it doesn't matter. You can just pick up right with us now. It's all different pets that have been in the White House, and some of them truly have been extremely wacky. This one's considered the most pampered. Calvin Coolidge was president during the prosperous 1920s. It was called the Roaring Twenties because many Americans enjoyed a wild and extravagant lifestyle. Coolidge was not a man of his time. Nicknamed Silent Cal, he had a quiet way of governing the country. However, he had no trouble communicating with animals. One Thanksgiving, the Coolidge family received a raccoon intended for their dinner table. Yes, you heard that right. They were going to eat it. President Coolidge took one look into her shiny brown eyes and named her Rebecca. Rebecca and the president became fast friends. He built her a special house outside the Oval Office. During the day, she waddled up and down the White House halls. She liked to unscrew light bulbs and unpot palms. Most nights, the president could be found walking his bushy-tailed pet on a leash. When the White House was being repaired, the president's family had to move out. Poor Rebecca was left behind. The president worried about his people-loving pet and took action. He ordered the presidential limousine to pick up Rebecca and return her to the Coolidge family. After all, she was the first raccoon. Rebecca was not Coolidge's only wacky pet. There were also 2 white collies. Rob Roy was the president's dog. Mrs. Coolidge's favorite was Prudence Prim. The First Lady liked to sew matching floppy hats that she and her pooch could wear to White House garden parties. Mrs. Coolidge hated to see any pet caged, including her flock of birds. Unfortunately, a big mynah bird's favorite perch was on top of the maid's head while she did her housework. I think there'd be a lot of housework to do if you have a bird loose in your house, wouldn't you? Most suspicious. John F. Kennedy was the youngest man ever elected president. The popular president and his stylish wife, Jackie, captivated the nation. During Kennedy's brief time in office, he launched the space race. He also founded the Peace Corps to aid developing countries. Americans were fighting for their civil rights at home while the Cold War continued abroad. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States didn't trust each other. The United States suspected everything that came from the communist Soviet Union. Spies were everywhere. So when the president's daughter, Caroline, received a little dog from Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, everyone was suspicious. The little white dog was named Pushinka, and that means fluffy in Russian. Pushinka was already a celebrity. Her mother, Strelka, which means little arrow, it says, had been one of the first dogs sent into space. The Secret Service agents were suspicious of the fluffy little white dog. Was she a spy too? The Russian dog didn't have fleas, but did she have other bugs? Like bugs to listen, like a little microphone. They call that bugs. Pushinka was checked for secret microphones and spying devices. She passed the test with flying colors. When Pushinka first saw the Kennedy Welsh Terrier, Charlie, it was puppy love. Soon they had 4 pups. President Kennedy called them pupniks. The Kennedys received many unusual pets. This one was from a magician. It was a rabbit named Zsa Zsa. The talented bunny could play the first 5 bars of the Star-Spangled Banner on a toy golden trumpet. That I would like to see. Wouldn't you like to see a bunny playing a trumpet? Best swimmer. Ronald Reagan was the oldest man ever elected president. He was a former actor, appearing in over 50 films. Fearful of communism, the president spent millions of dollars building up the military. Everyone has a fish story, but only one president has a first fish. Reagan was recovering from an assassination attempt when he received something fishy in the mail. A 10-year-old boy had sent the president a goldfish in a plastic bag filled with water. It didn't take long for the first fish to get into the swim of things. The tiny White House resident was given a place of honor in a tank bearing the presidential seal. And what animal's on the seal? We learned that on the other video. An eagle. Like the first fish, the president was a powerful swimmer. As a young man, Reagan worked as a lifeguard during summer vacations on the Rock River in Illinois. He put a notch in a log every time he saved a person from drowning. In 7 summers as a lifeguard, he made 77 notches. Wow. First families often complain that living in the White House is a lot like living in a fishbowl. This is one fish who would know. When people say they're living in a fishbowl, it means like everyone can see what you're doing, everything. There's nothing secret, nothing private. Best-selling pet. George Herbert Walker Bush's inauguration in 1989 marked the 200th anniversary of the U.S. presidency. There had been many dramatic changes since our first president was in office. And who was our first president? Yep, George Washington. During Bush's term, Americans saw the collapse of Soviet communism. The late 20th century was also a glorious time for White House pets. President Bush's Springer Spaniel, Millie, was voted ugliest dog in the Capitol by Washington Magazine. Millie wasn't going to let sleeping dogs lie. She put paw to paper and set the story straight about her life in the White House. Millie dictated 141 pages of her best-selling doggobiography to former First Lady Barbara Bush. In it, the first dog recalls her heavy White House schedule. She also describes sitting in on morning briefings, chasing squirrels, and playing in the White House flower beds. Not one to let fame go to her head, she didn't neglect her duties as first dog. She also mothered 6 puppies while in the office. The president was grateful to Millie. The published Pooch had given practically all of her first-year royalties, almost $900,000, to the First Lady's favorite charity and Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Legacy. Still, President Bush was a little jealous that the media hound got so much attention. In Millie's book, The Spaniel writes, "I overheard the Bushes talking the other night, some discussions about me keeping a lower profile. Every first pet knows when to let the president be top dog." Okay. It says the number one presidential pet has always been a dog. George Washington had almost 40. Some first dogs have been more popular than their presidents. President Harding was regarded as one of the worst presidents ever, but his outstanding Airedale, I think that's how you say it, terrier, Laddie Boy, became a national celebrity. He even had his own special chair to sit in at cabinet meetings. President Franklin Roosevelt's beloved little black Scotty, Fala, became an international celebrity, joining FDR at important world peacemaking meetings. He traveled abroad more than any other White House pet. Both top dogs received thousands of gifts, letters, and invitations from their fans. Who had the most pets? No contest here. We read about it, didn't we? Teddy Roosevelt and his 6 bunnies, his pet names for his children, turned the White House into a zoo. Calvin Coolidge ran a second close. People say pet owners look like their pets. At over 300 pounds, William Howard Taft was our largest president, and he owned pet cows. John Quincy Adams was one of our smallest presidents, and his household had the tiniest presidential pets, silkworms. Many presidents share the same personality traits as their pets. Teddy Roosevelt was playful, like his rowdy menagerie, Coolidge was stubborn, loyal, and quiet like his raccoon. Jefferson and his mockingbird were clever and shy. Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his dog Fala had star qualities, and like his fish, Reagan was an expert swimmer. There were only 43 presidents and around 400 presidential pets. 43 presidents at the time of this book and around 400 presidential pets. The White House is truly an animal house. Pets rule. On the following pages it just says different presidents and their pets and their pet names and things like that. But we're not going to go through all that. But you can certainly check this out from your library and read the back part of this book. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen all three, you can go back and watch the other two.